Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to our interview series, Cultivating Healthy and Vibrant Workplaces. So by way of introduction, I am Lisa Kelly, President and founder of the Workplace Wellness Center of Excellence and Director of our Workplace Wellness Certification and Executive Wellness Leadership Programs. So joining me today is none other than Robert Manolson of Powerful Play Experiences. And I've been wanting to interview Robert for some time now, as he is just a most joyful person, and as you'll find, his energy is truly infectious. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know Robert through our recently launched COVID-19 Transitional Leader Recovery course that we've been offering over the past month. And we'll speak more about that in just a bit. I wanted to interview Robert as he has a really unique business, as you'll learn about. Yeah, it is. He designs and delivers workshop experiences with such amazing levels of energy and happiness and joy. And I truly
Wow.
he does. And I've never attended one of his events, but from what I've read and what I've read of his testimonials and what he shared of his offerings in his articles and what have you, I'm just always wowed. I'm really wowed. And I think there's such a need for his powerful play experiences. And you can see his logo there in the background. But Robert, as I gather, is all about promoting fun at work and building a culture of highly engaged and happy teams,
Yes.
as well as elevating mental health in the workplace. So am I getting it right so far, Robert?
You are getting it so right. You are now at the top of my Christmas card mailing list.
Oh, there you go. But I really felt this was a great timing to bring Robert into our interview series. And here's why. Because, we're in the midst of our pandemic. And, maybe if you're watching this years down the road, you'll remember this pandemic all too well, right? But currently we're adjusting, and we have been adjusting to a new normal and a new way of working together and really taking care of one another in this pandemic, okay? So with all that being said, welcome, Robert, to our interview series. And again, it's so great to have you join us. So how are you doing in this pandemic?
Well, first I want to say thank you very much, Lisa Kelly. I am humbled to be here today alongside you. You are amazing. You are amazing. And I really don't know anybody else like you. And I don't know anybody else who's doing what you're doing in the way that you do it.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and so I am so honored to be here today. Yeah. And so how am I doing? You're catching me on a good day.
Okay.
Today's a good day. Today's a good day. Because every day is a bit of a challenge in terms of my own mental well-being and my own emotional well-being. Overall, we all can say there's been a number of challenges.
Yes.
During this pandemic time. But you know what, Lisa? I'm really proud of myself as to how I've handled all of this.
Good.
Especially the isolation or stay-at-home message,
yes.
Which resulted in minimal or no contact with people and friends.
Well, that's challenging for all of us, for sure. Discuss how organizations, and you're a good person to speak to this, can elevate work cultures by adding more fun and joy to the lives of employees in their workday. And many of us now are working from home, and we have, maybe we're going into the office but still working from home, and we call that the hybrid work environment, as you know from our COVID course. But it is a challenging time, right? And I hear from employees and people we're coaching and working with that they're working longer hours, they're tired, their spirits are down, they're missing the social contact, they feel isolated. Because not only are we isolated from our coworkers, we're isolated from our community, right? With the exception of wearing a mask and going and get our groceries, right? So we're really missing that whole social aspect just in our lives in general. So, before we sort of get into more of a discussion around that, I thought I'd just have you share with our viewers, because many probably don't know who you are, what you offer.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about powerful play experiences and what makes your offerings unique and of high value to employees and in organizations, and probably especially at this time, that the season of life, as I call it.
Well, awesome question. Awesome question. I created powerful play experiences 13, 14 years ago, out of a choice to move away from employment to self-employment.
Right.
And I was highly encouraged at that time by the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, the Edmonton chapter, to step outside my comfort zone and create a business around speaking. Now, I'm not a speaker. I'm an awesome workshop facilitator.
I don't know. I think you're a pretty good speaker myself. I think you're
well, a famous speaker once said to me, speaking and facilitating all fall under the same umbrella.
They do.
And and honestly, I separate the two. Because it's an experience. I'm creating a workshop experience for folks. And, it's been quite the journey over the past 13, 14 years. The tagline has changed over the years. For a number of years, it was powerful play experiences, workplace fun and wellness workshops. For a number of years, it was powerful play experiences, creating engaged teams. But what I love about the new tagline that I created is we're really pushing the message that fun at work, happy and engaged teams, joyful experiences in the workplace. That's good mental health. That's good mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm finding that if I can push the mental health message followed by the fun at work message, that's when I'm getting people's attention.
I always like to get to know a little bit about my interview, right? So what makes Robert happy, and what brings excitement and fulfillment to Robert's day?
What makes Robert happy? Well, let's be clear on a couple of things. I'm not happy all the time. Okay. I'm not high energy.
Well, then you're normal.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the new normal.
Absolutely, you're the new normal.
Just a personal disclosure here. I live with and manage depression and anxiety.
Right.
There's 4 generations of mental illness in my family, 4 generations.
Right.
And, I really commend my late father and my mother. They were well ahead of their time, because growing up, they were quite open about talking about mental health. Right. In our household. Of course, that maybe wasn't the language back then, but there was an openness about talking about it and seeking help.
And that's pretty commendable, because for their generation, I would expect that probably was not the norm, right?
Exactly. So, what ensures that I'm happy? It's all about being honest with myself that I just might not be myself today. And that was a wonderful lesson that I learned from my mother and father, right? That it's okay to be honest and authentic with yourself and talk about it. And
not
talk
only
about
okay, it. I think it's crucial. It's crucial to our mental well-being. Would you not agree?
Well, that it's not even that is crucial. Give me a second here.
Yeah.
I want to grab one.
Well, what I was thinking, just while you're finding that, is that, self-awareness is so important. And especially if we are prone to melancholy or depression or mild depression or varying degrees of depression. And being self-aware, I've even caught myself in this pandemic, and I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky girl. And I was just sharing with you that I had to really find ways to really dig deep to create happiness in my life lately. And I was very self-aware that I was like everyone, getting kind of down and out, which is normal.
And sliding that statement, I was very much aware that I was just not myself today.
Yeah.
Isn't that a beautiful phrase?
Yeah.
You could step right into it so comfortably. There's no shame.
No,
there's no guilt. There's no feelings of, oh, I must be a problem. I'm different. I'm not like the others.
Yeah.
And the part two is talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Is talking about, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about mental health.
Yeah.
So here.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it says tap here, Lisa, so you have to tap here.
Okay, I'm tapping.
Here.
I'm tapping.
There you go. So what keeps me happy is self-awareness. And so you can see that today I really want people to start the conversation about workplace, about mental health, and specifically workplace mental health. And those are the things that keep me happy. The acknowledgement I'm not myself today, and the ability to talk about it freely with no guilt, no shame.
You do, and I would think you bring a real authenticity to your presentations. And this is the message that I'm hearing today that I promote as well, is that, and even like watching the CNN news, one of the anchors, commenting that they're pretty prone to depression, right? And about seeing a therapist. So we're really bringing it more into the mainstream,
yes.
And really opening it up, which is wonderful, and it's so needed because it's helping to remove that stigma, right? I recently read a Gallup statistic that, talking about work culture and the pandemic we're in now, and I just thought this was really interesting by Gallup, that close work friendships boost employee satisfaction by as much as 50%, and that people with a best friend at work are 7 times more likely to be fully engaged at work. So I just thought they were really interesting and really align with what we're going to talk more about now. And I just want to share 5 other things I read here, and we'll speak to this. And there were suggestions for organizations on how they can help optimize employee experiences, especially again in these dynamic and uncertain times. So number 1 was to see the employee experience through the lens of their employees. That's a pretty big statement, and I don't know how many organizations do that, but I'm putting it out there, right? And we'll talk about this. So for organizations to see the employee experience through the lens of their employees, and that they listen to their employees, to really, truly listen. Don't just give them, lip service. Truly listen to what, they want in terms of, now, like in terms of what they want, in terms of the virtual physical workspace, or are they comfortable going back into the workplace? Will they be comfortable for the next year or 2, right? To really listen to them and try and accommodate, where possible, their needs and interests. But also to see, and I love this one, number 3, to view the future of work as the future of work being about worker well-being. So again, I'll read it out. View the future of work equating to the future of worker well-being. So really putting worker well-being, and of course being a workplace wellness provider, I just really clung to that, right?
Yeah.
And number 4,
cool.
that employee experiences should be embraced as a business initiative that involves cross-functional involvement of key stakeholders. So really looking at everything we're talking about, everything you're talking about, as mental health, fun at work, being a business initiative, right? And then lastly, that organizations explore and create agile methods to really design optimal employee experiences rather than just solving a pressing problem. So even just what we're talking about, I'm sure, and you can speak more to this now, in terms of what you do or the context of this pandemic. But when you're hearing these statistics and these suggestions about the future of worker well-being and making these employee experiences a business initiative and creating agile methods around all that and seeing employee experiences through the lens of the employees and truly listening to employees, when you hear all that, what comes to mind maybe from your own experiences or how you're trying to support organizations today?
Okay. That was a lot of stuff.
A lot to unpack.
That was a lot of stuff to unpack.
Yeah. So just anything that I said, just really pick on something that I just said that maybe, really resonated with you. We don't
You
have
bet.
to go
And
for it
I'm
all.
going to pick on something and I'm going to ask you to join the conversation.
Sure.
How many times, and if you need to look at your notes, go right ahead,
Okay.
count the number of times you use the word employee experience. Count it. Count.
Well, there's certainly many. I don't know how many, but there's lots I can even see.
Well, I definitely somewhere between 5, if not 10 times.
Yes.
And why am I pulling out those two words,
Mm-hmm.
the employee experience? Without a doubt, in my opinion, what is missing in the development of each of those points, those pieces, is the understanding what we are saying when we say the employee experience.
Yes.
That's just a phrase that fits well, or two words that fit well into those strategies. But has anybody ever sat down and said, so tell me about your employee experience? How's it working for you? How does that feel like?
Wow.
What's not happening? What can I do more of? Without attaching those other pieces to it.
Yeah.
You said something to me before you closed off this question. You said, Robert, why don't you tell me about your experience? And you didn't even realize that what you were doing was what I'm asking leaders to do, to step back and not look at it as protocols,
Yes.
practices.
Yeah.
You go to the individuals on the team and say, so, Lisa, how's the experience working here, working for you?
Yeah.
Tell me about, is it an experience?
Right.
How does it feel like? What do you think of when you come to work and engage everybody in the experience of working together?
I love that, Robert.
Working for you.
I love
Why?
that. And
Why?
here's why I love that is because I don't know, maybe some, there are probably some very progressive, forward-thinking organizations out there. I don't want to say there's not, but maybe I would dare to say a lot of organizations, team leaders, HR, whomever, would be in the position to maybe ask these questions. I wonder how many have actually put that question, and that lends itself to the culture of an organization too, right?
You bet.
It very much plays into that, but that's a really good question. Do we ask our employees, what is their experience? And right now, certainly, and we talk about this, of course, in our COVID course quite, often, but to really open up that dialogue of communication between the supervisor, the leader, and our employees, and really get to know them and what their challenges are now, what their experiences. And
what you're doing is you're individualizing it. You're making it personal for the individual.
Yeah.
But any one of those things, before we get to the back half of it, the middle of the back, how can I even sit down and have that conversation and introduce a subject matter in that question? Tell me about your experience, that I think you need to respond to. Drop it and just have the conversation around the experience.
I haven't thought how we could do it in a kind of a non-intrusive way. I don't think it is. We talk about this in the COVID course, and we talk about, and I got this idea from Simon Sinek, start with why, who many of us know, of course, and his famous TED Talk. But, excuse me, he, in his meetings, he has a huddle. Now, I'm sure many of us have heard the term huddle. But in his huddle, in one of the questions in their huddle, and huddle for him is basically they start off, I hope I get this right, they start off their meeting with a 10 or 15 minute, just like getting to know their employees, opening up the airways for their employees to talk about anything maybe other than work. Maybe one of the last questions talks about having one of the employees shares, why they do what they do, what brings them, what gets them excited to come to work every day, right? But talk about things. And so in the huddle, one of the questions may be, and they go around the room and have each person just share in a minute or less how they're feeling today, how they're feeling in this pandemic. Or even, dare I say, a leader who is really brave, how are things working for you? Are we as an organization providing and meeting your needs and starting the conversation? Absolutely. And so how can we better serve and support your needs? And as a leader, being very mature and very open and receptive to what might be said, right? I mean, we really got to have a strong backbone here because we may hear things, right? I remember Zuckerberg, I think, and I hope I get this right. I heard it in a conference relayed to me one time that he would pass around the stick, and I really hope I'm getting this right, but he would pass around the talking stick on a, no holds barred, open town hall Friday meeting or whatever. I'm just kind of making things up here now, but that's the gist of it. And, really employees were allowed to really speak what was on their mind.
Yes.
And, that's when we talk about creating psychologically safe workplace. I mean, that's the fundamental tenet of a psychologically safe workplace, right? Where
what is the fundamental tenet of psychologically safe? Tell me what it is.
Where an employee feels so open and so comfortable not being penalized or, for sharing something that's on their heart.
Yes. And you're inviting someone on your team to share their experiences, and it's all playing the role of you're listening. You're not imposing. You're empowering. You're not coming in as in a place of power. You're giving permission for people to share their experiences in their own language, in their own words, in their own way. And that is a wonderful starting point to address all those other strategies you talked about. Some might work for that individual, some might not, because I'm here to honor your experience. And what can I do to facilitate you having the best experience?
Absolutely. And just what I love about what you just said, I'm such a big advocate of, empathic, active listening. And I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I don't always practice because I try and work on it and hone it. But I'm like, I'm just as fallible as anyone else in terms of I don't always practice what I preach, because it's in our human nature to want to be thinking about the response and to be then putting out the answer but really, truly, leaders, coworkers, in humankind, we should always be listening, seeking, to take the words of Stephen Covey, seek first to understand and then be understood. So we should not be listening to be thinking about what we're going to say next. And so again, I put that challenge out to all team members and to leaders, along the lines of what we're talking about in a team huddle. So we need to give that airspace, that airtime to our employees to speak, not to interrupt, to speak and just really, remember Larry King would always lean into his to lean in and really show you're actively listening with heart and empathy, right?
It's very good.
And my gracious, if we did that, oh my gracious, what a great workplace we have to work in, right?
And you know what, Lisa, we all have this skill. And I'll just throw out one example, and then you can throw out another example.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is out there, anybody out there who has children, who have kids, when grandma comes over to take the kids out for the day, when an aunt or uncle, when a friend comes over, what's the first few things that they're going to say to your kid? So, what would you like to do? Yeah. How can I make this time together a great experience for you? Right? And the child shares and feels empowered as to how he or she will spend time.
I love
Why are we doing that in the workplace? Why are we not looking at our coworkers as family and saying, so I'm here for you. Yeah. The experience that you and I and others will share today, how important it is for me to know that it's positive for you. So tell me, what is it that you need? How can we help you get there? And help me shape what it is so I can understand it and get you there.
I love that. When you say that, it just brought to mind Bob Chapman, Everybody Matters. He's a CEO and author of Everybody Matters. And he says just that. We need to care for our employees as if they're our own child. We're entrusted for 40 hours a week with those employees. Those employees are somebody's child that we've been graced and privileged to be able to care for 40 hours a week. And how are we doing with that? That's up for debate, right?
That's up for, well, the pandemic and everything associated with it is now forcing us to step back and to pause
Yeah.
and to rethink our own actions and reactions, our own behaviors, our own styles of leadership. And simply because we're all in this together.
But Robert, what is your sense of the state of employee well-being in this, what I call challenging season of life? What is your sense of the state of employee, and and how are we doing as organizations in meeting those needs, right?
Do I love poster board? Do you remember this, Lisa? Let's see if we can find the
you
right
shared that in our
for
COVID course, and then I know you repurposed it.
Let's see.
Yeah. So what is not being talked about during Alberta's relaunch strategy? So maybe you can just walk us through that. I can see, you want to lift it up a little bit higher. I think we're gonna, and there you go. So I can it's in front of you now, but what is not being talked about during Alberta's relaunch? And again, Alberta is a province we both live in, but it could be anyone's relaunch strategy, right? So,
well, I want to take this back to your question, right?
Yeah.
What is where are people at?
Yeah.
How are they doing? Is that what I?
Yeah. What is your sense of the state of employee well-being right now in this particular, pandemic, this season of life we're in?
Well, here's my concern. And just by sheer virtue that I use the word concern, suggests that maybe employee well-being is not where it needs to be. And as a result of that, I created we'll just call it a chart,
right,
or an idea right now that truly reflects the importance of addressing our mental health and our emotional health during the course of the pandemic, and now during this return to work period of time. How interesting it is that as messages come to us through healthcare professionals, government officials, and the like, it's all about the business of the pandemic, the business of COVID-19, the business of return to work. And examples might be, how do we balance working remotely and working on site? Okay, I get that's a technical piece around the business of return to work. But are we talking about mental health? Are we talking about well-being? Are we talking about wellness? Because first and foremost, we need to be at a place of healthy. What are you thinking?
Well, I love this. I'm just so gravitating to what you're saying here. And when you ask me what I'm thinking, the first thing that comes up is that a couple things. One, I'm hearing a lot because I do a lot of research. I'm pretty close to the ground on this because of the COVID and other work I do. And one thing I've heard from employees is that, and this was a while back, and maybe even more magnified now, that they're almost getting tired of maybe being pushed all this messaging around mental health and all these tips and tools. And it's almost like, okay, I got it, enough already, right? So that's one thing that I've been hearing. Now, that's not to say it's not needed, because it is. But I just think it's just been so much of it coming from all different directions. So that's one observation. The other thing, though, more importantly, I think, is to that point that it's very easy to send out a wellness tip sheet or a mental health tip sheet. It's a lot more challenging for an organization to step back and look systemically. Okay, what can we do to really, truly serve our employees? Never mind just a tip sheet, a mental health tip sheet. Or, and with all due respect, we can bring in maybe Robert to do a webinar, and we should be, right? Or bring to our work site. But even looking at the bigger picture, like what you did there, Robert, in that chart, what can we do systemically within our culture, from leaders down and from a bottom up, top down perspective and approach? We're at this season of life where we can go in either direction, right? We can use this as a real growing and evolving and a time to reset and really get things right. And I'm hearing some of that, but then I'm also concerned that we're going to be so mired in logistics and, the physical safety of employees and that we're going to lose sight of it. So I don't know, like I don't have all the answers here yet. And I probably got more questions than answers.
Well, what's really cool is you and I and your wonderful community of followers and leaders are finding our place
Mhm.
much differently and in a good way of
Mhm.
getting our message out there. So
Right.
I'm with you that, like, I'm on board with the idea that the messages are coming fast and furious, and
Mm.
there's almost a fatigue factor, right?
Mm.
And I believe that that's happening because it's not coming from the experts. It's coming from government officials, government
Mm.
departments who are receiving recommendations from healthcare professionals, and it shows up just like you said, a tip sheet, right? And as if mental and emotional health is a date on the calendar. It's
Mm.
a one-off,
Yeah.
right? And when everything you talk about in terms of weaving it into the system
Mm.
of work
Yeah.
is suggesting, no, this is, let's make a workplace lifestyle choice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Let's make a workplace lifestyle choice where it's about getting the work done, but it's about getting the work done as we continue to address our own health and well-being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's done over a long period of time.
Or even, like I said, coming back to the huddle, these
Yes.
any opportunities we can to open up dialogue and discussion, right, in our organizations. I mean, that's a great starting point. And I do want to give credit to organizations and employee assistance programs, because
Okay.
I'm hearing that there is a lot of uptake of
Okay.
these services. So that's good. And I don't want to
Okay.
diminish that's happening, because it is happening. And I really applaud organizations for really encouraging their employees to access those resources,
Okay.
right? But I think we can do better. And that's
Yes.
not to say, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight, but this is why we're having this I find very crucial, critical conversation right now,
You bet.
right? To
It's
lay that.
all about starting the conversation, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we just forget that
Yeah.
because everything springboards from the conversation.
Yeah.
Start the conversation
Hmm.
and things springboard from that. If
And something as simple as just giving the employees that airtime, that they feel they're in a safe environment, that they're not going to be judged by their peers or their leader for bringing up something, or even saying that, I'm having a really crappy day today.
yeah, not
It's not a
myself
good
today.
day, right?
Yeah.
And just feeling that safety net to be able to do that. So, Robert, then, um, in terms of your powerful play experiences and supporting employees and their mental well-being in this pandemic, how have you been able to use your skills, your experiences, your tools, and your toolkit in this new normal, in this new environment? You're not obviously I don't think you are going out to on-sites, or maybe you are, but work sites. But are you able to recreate, repurpose, what you've done in a work site setting, and convert that and transfer it over to an online virtual environment?
Well, no doubt about it. I needed to embrace that 5-letter word, pivot. Pivot. If I hear that word one more time, Lisa,
I know.
I
Yeah.
just may pivot away from pivot. And there's been it's been a challenge. It's
Yeah.
been hard work
Mm-hmm.
to find a place of peace with my anxiety
Right.
around the fact that COVID-19 now takes me away from contact with people and groups in the workplace. Once the anxiety was in check and well supported by many of my friends who are just excellent online with the tools online, I found some creative ways to bring myself
Mm-hmm.
and play and fun as an experience to the online world, through a couple of, we'll call them online shows that I've produced.
Mm-hmm.
And this has resulted in, what that resulted in was numerous emails and comments in LinkedIn. Thank you, Robert, for helping me laugh today. Thank you for bringing me a
Nice.
smile. Yeah, and you know, it's almost like I had to go back to the beginning and say, what can I do that's so grassroots and so simple? Well, I could go online and bring fun and bring a smile to everybody's face. And essentially what it's done is it's kept me in front of my audience. It's
Right.
kept my, you know, my brand name in front of the audience.
Yeah.
So lots of other things, but it's been a bit of a challenge. I'm not yet at the place of having delivered, you know, a workshop online. I think I'm about 3 or 4 weeks away from making that happen.
Okay.
But I can meet people at a park. If you want to, I've played powerful play experiences outside at a park.
Yeah, let's just talk about that. And I really want to spend a few minutes because I know people tuning into this are probably going to be looking for opportunity that they can bring powerful play experiences to their team, right? With you or without you, you know, independent of you. But I mean, we all have gifts and talents that we can use and in as leaders, right? And so I did a little homework.
Good.
And let's talk about that. Like, I looked at some virtual team building activities, right? And let's just, you know, and you might, hey, run with some of these, right? And maybe you can think of a few that add to it or to supplement. One idea was a peek into each other's homes. So each team member will take a short video showing off their home and some favorite things. And then they can use that in a team building type of thing. Or, you know, the traditional, the desert island scenario, right? In a virtual. And what's so nice about, for those who may not be fully familiar with the tools of Zoom, you can do break-off groups. So if you have a large team, you can break them off in pairs or dyads or, you know, dyads or triads or quads, and then have everyone come back and share their experiences. So then everyone has that more airtime to talk rather than having people open up. And so if there's something that's of more personal nature, maybe it might be just a question like, share how you're feeling today.
Yes.
Is this a good week or a crappy week? And have people break off in pairs in Zoom. And you can do that for 10 minutes at the start of a team meeting. And so, Robert, someone like yourself, let's just say, could put yourself out there as a facilitator. And I've even suggested this to my graduates of our programs. Position yourself as a team meeting, a wellness facilitator, to come in for 10 or 15 minutes at the start of a meeting, once a month or every week, whatever, and be that wellness facilitator and do walk through some of these. Or maybe it's a meditation. Or another one they had was called the personal facts guessing game, right? Great way to learn about your team. Or picture sharing. So it's a nice icebreaker, right? You know, traditional show and tell or build a storyline. Remember that, you know, you tell them and they carry on the story?
Yeah.
You know, just some really fun things, right? And I'm sure you've probably done some of these yourself. Or even bringing it into the context of a business situation in a sort of a fun way. Let's tackle something that's a business situation. We can break off in groups or we can discuss it as a large group in Zoom. But really, for example, they use a case of if you're handling a PR team, you could create a situation where the company has suffered from a scandal and needs to save face. So you can use that as a creative way to get ideas going, but it also, anytime our team can talk about things and interact outside of the confines of a normal business,
you got it.
then, you know, so that's just a few things, a few ideas. I mean, or talk about the perfect vacation or have a virtual book club. I mean, there's so many possibilities you can do, and you could take them and run with them yourself and in terms of a virtual facilitator.
You rock, Lisa. You rock. Those, you know what I love about those ideas? You know what I love about them? No budget required. There's no budget. There's no budget. Yeah, wellness, fun, engaging, relationship building, connecting, caring, kindness. No budget required. No budget required.
Well, maybe if you were to bring in Robert Manolson as a facilitator, there might be a small budget, right? But truthfully, some leaders may not be comfortable, or there's something very valuable and real about bringing in an outsider to facilitate. That's why we're called facilitators, to bring in an outsider. And, you know, just your positivity, just your laughter would inject so much catharsis, is that the right word? But just so cathartic to them, right?
Yes. You know,
their team, or they'd probably be a little more intimidated to talk about something if their team leader was facilitating that. So to have someone like yourself come in and
Well,
facilitate.
I'll give you an example. So this was at the front end of what I call the lockdown or the shutdown. So I got a call from a very dear friend who's the executive director of a social service agency. And they work with high-risk families, families with high needs.
Mm-hmm.
And they provide just a full range of services. So at that time, the doors were closed, but they needed to remain in contact. They really did at that time, to remain in contact and keep the relationship going with the families in their communities. Work with the families on how to get online. And the staff, for 3 mornings a week, organized activities via camera, at the center for the children and the parents to engage in together.
Nice.
So they brought me in. And they said, this wonderful gal that I know, who's the executive director, she said, I think our staff need a little bit of coaching on how to be fun on the camera, fun online.
Oh,
and
there you go.
Yeah, so I found myself being a fun at work online consultant, right? And so by being there online with the children and the families and the staff and being a participant, I was coaching them on how to raise fun levels online. Yeah. And how to raise engagement levels with the families online.
This is fantastic, Robert. And you have brought to the surface so many important
thank you.
Yeah, so many important tenets that we need, that we probably know, but we just need to really internalize it more. And I really value this discussion, because I think you've brought so much positive energy to this topic, and a lot of things that either I knew or just didn't give enough credit to, but it really is making me think things a little differently from our discussion. So I really want to thank you for that. Is there anything else you want to share or add to what we talked about before we conclude?
Well, a couple of things. I wanted to thank you, because
my pleasure.
No, listen. Just take the compliment, okay?
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah, who you are and what you've achieved professionally is pretty phenomenal. It is. And you know how much I follow you or see you on Facebook or LinkedIn. You are you never lack the energy to get your message out there. And I want to thank you for inviting me into your world. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I see myself as kind of hovering over here, and Lisa's over here. And that was that's how I felt at the beginning when we founded each other. But I want to thank you for inviting me into your community, because it's elevating my confidence. It's elevating my knowledge. It's elevating my resources on the topic that we just spoke about, around it all coming together, mental health and wellness and well-being. And there's not too many people who have the patience for my energy.
Oh, well, I'm pretty high energy, so I think we suit each other quite nicely.
You have wonderful patience for my energy and my creativity, and I appreciate that.
And I thank you for those kind words. And I just want to, shout out to you as well, that my sense is you don't necessarily see yourself as a workplace wellness professional, but I do, and I see you as every bit of workplace wellness professional as anyone I've certified or trained or coached or worked with, or that I work alongside of. So if I were you, I would definitely, you have every right to call yourself a workplace wellness professional.
Oh, thank you. Right? Thank you. And I am humbled and honored, no doubt. Yeah. You're the first in your field to say that to me.
No. Oh, well, I don't know why. Maybe they thought it and just didn't. I like to put things out there. I never just take anything for granted. So thank you, Robert. And, as we wrap up this, and it's just been a joy. I knew it would be a fun interview. It's probably one of my favorite interviews that I've done for this series. But as we wrap up this most joyful episode of Cultivating Healthy and Vibrant Workplaces, and I'm not sure, I might have to put it in two segments because we went on, but that's okay. Or maybe we'll just keep it as one. But I really want to thank you, Robert, for joining me
Thank
today.
you.
And I'm sure our viewers will be as inspired by your energy and your passion,
Call me,
your
get in
joy.
touch with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can someone learn more about your programs and get in touch with you?
Powerfulplay.ca, powerfulplay.ca, and better yet, just pick up the phone and give me a call. Start the conversation. Just start the conversation with me, and let's talk about your experience over the past few months and what we as facilitators can do to shift the experience to more happy, more engagement, more understanding about how to transition during this pandemic. Some of the tasks that we're working on, some of the change in our business practices, working on people's mental health and emotional health. It all starts with a conversation.
It does.
So call me. We can play outdoors, we can play online, and it's just a refreshing way of working working through the context of our relationship with work. It's just a different way. It's a fun way.
And I also want to put out a plug for you, because you do have some, you do have a YouTube channel as well, I believe, and you have some really great videos.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're feeling down, just go watch one of his videos. He'll just pick you up. So on that note, in closing, to you, our viewers, thank you so much for tuning into our series. And so to receive future notifications of future episodes, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Workplace Wellness Center of Excellence. And if you are a wellness enthusiast or maybe a workplace wellness professional interested in becoming certified for dynamic career opportunities in corporate wellness, or maybe advancing your skills in the field, I invite you to check out our website at workplacewellnesscoe.com, and certainly email me. And you know, we have a new website coming out, so explore all our courses and programs, and maybe sign up for one of our monthly information sessions, followed by a discovery consult if you want to be considered for our programs. They're by a qualification and selection and enrollment process now. So we don't take in very many. So so do check out our information sessions. Thank you again, Robert.
Oh, thank you.
And so to all of my friends, until we meet again, I wish you the very best health and happiness in these tender pandemic times, for sure. Be well, and so long for now. God bless everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.